Shabbat Shalom. I want to begin by telling you a story. One Friday evening, I was davening Friday night services, Shabbat services at the Kotel in Jerusalem. Those of you who have been at the Kotel know that when you leave the area, the plaza around the Kotel, in order to get up into the old city and back to your destination, you have to climb a fair amount of stairs. And on one Friday night, as I prepared myself to climb what seems like 200 to 300 stairs, as you look back at the Kotel and leave it as the sun sets on Friday night in Jerusalem, I noticed that a man, we'll say he was my age as I am now, was carrying what looked to be his father on his back up the stairs. I listened to them talk, and of course I discovered he kept calling him Abba, that it was his father. And when they got to the top of the stairs and his father sat down, I turned to him and I said, I think that was one of the most amazing displays of honoring your father and your mother that I ever saw. He looked at me in Hebrew and said, nonsense. He's my father. He couldn't walk up the stairs. I carried him up. I looked at it as such a special thing. He didn't think anything of it. And on that day, he taught me a lesson. Kibud av va'em, honor your father and your mother. We read about this idea in last week's Torah portion, when we read the Ten Commandments. But we read about it again in this week's Torah portion, Mishpatim. Mishpatim is a series of laws and injunctions, and in this week's Torah portion, we read it in somewhat of a negative fashion. If you curse your mother and your father, you're put to death. But I think its double mentioning, juxtaposed 1 week after the other, is a clear message for each and every one of us. Honoring our parents is one of the most fundamental things that we can do as a Jew. They give us life. They give us shelter. They give us everything that we possibly could need, but it's so much more. When the child grows up to be a parent, two things happen. One, they have children of their own, and they want that same respect, and those children see how they respect their parents. Two, ultimately, the child becomes the caregiver and the parent the caregiving. And the respect relationship that is fostered throughout lives is one that is based on love, incredible devotion, but one that is also watched closely by each subsequent generation. So when we perform this important mitzvah, one that the Torah tells us will lengthen our days in the world, we're not only doing it for our parents, for ourselves, but we're doing it for the next generations as well. Shabbat Shalom.